Hello, you're watching AnewZ Morning from Baku. I'm Bakhtiar Sanov, and let's see the headlines. U.S. Congress formally certifies Donald Trump's presidential election win, completing the final step before his January 20th inauguration. United States allows transactions with governing institutions in Syria despite sanctions. Ukraine's Zelensky says Russia suffers heavy losses in Kursk region. Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev accused Russia of trying to cover up the situation around the Azerbaijan Airlines plane crash late in December 2024. President Ilham Aliyev's remarks came as he was meeting survivors and family members of the victims of the plane crash. After the crash, Russia's President Vladimir Putin apologized to President Aliyev for what the Kremlin called a tragic incident over Russia, in which the Azerbaijan Airlines plane crashed after Russian air defenses were fired against Ukrainian drones. The president of Azerbaijan stressed that the plane was rendered uncontrollable by electronic warfare equipment and damaged by fire from the ground.
Dekabrın 29'unda bildirdiğim bir məqamı bir daha diqqətinizə çatdırmaq istəyirəm. Grozny şəhərində kovyor əməliyyatı, yəni ki, hava sahəsinin bağlanması.
I would like to bring to your attention one point that I stated on the 29th of December. In Grozny, the Kovyor operation, i.e., an operation to close the airspace, was announced after the plane was shot at from the ground. This once again shows that there are very serious criminal issues here. Usually, if there is a threat to the airspace of any country, the airspace of that country is immediately closed. This happens in all countries and has different names. In Russia, it is called Kovyor operation. If there was a threat to Russian airspace, the captain of the plane should have been informed about it immediately. The airspace should have been closed immediately and the plane should have turned back. I should also note that about 10 days before the accident, a similar incident occurred near the city of Grozny. An AnewZ plane was turned back halfway. Why was the crew not warned about it this time? Naturally, the investigation will show this. I want to say again that the information we have is based on the truth. The cover-up of this incident by Russian state agencies and the focus on absurd theories causes surprise, regret, and rightful indignation. Innocent people died. I repeat that it is precisely thanks to the heroism of the pilots and crew members that about 30 people survived this accident, several of whom were seriously injured. I should also note that the majority of those killed in the accident were Azerbaijani citizens. At the same time, citizens of Russia and Kazakhstan also died. Citizens of Kyrgyzstan were injured.
Azərbaycan vətəndaşlarıdır, eyni zamanda Rusiya və Qazaxstan vətəndaşları da həlak olub, Qırğızstan vətəndaşları isə yaralanmışdır.
The U.S. Congress formally certified President-elect Donald Trump's victory in the November 5th election, completing the final step before his January 20th inauguration. Vice President Kamala Harris, who lost to Trump in November, presided over the session in her constitutional role as President of the Senate. The certification ceremony stood in stark contrast to the events of January 6, 2021, when a violent mob stormed the U.S. Capitol, clashing with law enforcement and attempting to block President Joe Biden's accession to office. The session proceeded without incident, as state results were read aloud in the presence of Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Trump secured 312 Electoral College votes, while Harris received 226. Security inside and outside the Capitol was heightened on Monday, with snowy Capitol grounds ringed by metal fences and checkpoints, along with extra teams of uniformed police checking IDs at entrance sites. The boosted security is expected to remain in place through Trump's inauguration on January 20th. A winter storm brought heavy snow and freezing temperatures to over 60 million people across the United States. Indiana, Ohio, and the Mid-Atlantic are bracing for up to 30 centimeters of snow and icy conditions.
Indiana's first snowstorm of the year hit on Sunday, blanketing the state with heavy snow and freezing temperatures. The National Weather Service issued a winter storm warning through Monday evening, predicting snow accumulations of 15 to 23 centimeters, along with a glaze of ice. This storm affected over 60 million people across more than a dozen states, from Kansas to New Jersey, bringing snow, ice, and freezing conditions. Cincinnati, Ohio was particularly hard hit, with snowfall expected to reach 18 to 25 centimeters. Other major cities, including Indianapolis, Washington, and Philadelphia, closed schools in advance due to the storm's impact. The storm is moving toward the mid-Atlantic, with Washington, D.C. bracing for heavy snow and bitter cold as the U.S. Congress prepares to certify Donald Trump's election as president on Monday. Blizzard conditions were reported in Kansas and northwestern Missouri, where roads were covered in snow and ice, prompting warnings to avoid travel. Freezing rain in parts of Kentucky and West Virginia created hazardous ice accumulations. As the storm moves out, Arctic air will follow, with temperatures minus 12 to minus 6 degrees Celsius below average across much of the East Coast and Great Plains. Several states, including Kansas and Kentucky, have declared states of emergency.
U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein expresses optimism about the progress of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hezbollah. After meetings with the Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati and Parliament Speaker Nahib Berri, Hochstein reaffirmed the U.S. support for the agreement. Earlier, he visited Nagora in southern Lebanon to oversee the ceasefire implementation with Major General Jasper Jeffers.
The same work that led to the withdrawal today of the Israeli military will continue. And therefore, that is what will enable the next phase, which we're now focused on, which is to withdraw from the next sector of territory, and then after that, the final one. So this is going according to the plan, maybe not according to exact expectations of everybody in Lebanon or Israel, but we have 20 days left to reach the 60 days. We are going to continue the same work that led to the successful deployment and withdrawal.
Justin Trudeau announced his resignation as Prime Minister and leader of Canada's governing party. Speaking in Ottawa, Trudeau said he will stay on as Prime Minister until a new Liberal Party leader is chosen. He added that the country deserves a real choice at the next election and that it has become clear that he cannot be the best option on the ballot if he has to fight internal battles. Trudeau, who has been as Prime Minister for 9 years, had been under pressure from members of his own party to resign since the summer, after the Liberals suffered a historic defeat in Toronto by election to their Conservative rivals. After the sudden resignation of his Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, in December, pressure has grown on Trudeau to step down. Elon Musk criticized the UK government over the weekend, accusing officials of mishandling child sex abuse cases. In response, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer stated that Musk had crossed the line, claiming he was spreading lies and misinformation. Ollie Barrett brings more on that from London.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer gave a major speech on Monday about healthcare, but it was actually Elon Musk that almost all of the questions from journalists focused on. And that's because the US-based billionaire has been posting for days now criticism of Keir Starmer and some of his ministers about their record when it comes to the UK scandal around so-called grooming gangs. Keir Starmer, though, mounting a defence of his record and also the record of his safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips, on the issue. Keir Starmer saying that much of the criticism that's been coming the way of his government is based on what he called lies and misinformation, and he also criticised people for jumping on what he called the bandwagon of the far right. Elon Musk has been vocal in his views that Keir Starmer and Jess Phillips, he believes, should, according to his posts on social media, be jailed for their record when it comes to grooming gangs here in Britain. But Keir Starmer pointing to his own record when he was the Director of Public Prosecutions around child sexual abuse, and also saying that he believes that his safeguarding minister Jess Phillips has a very strong record on that issue as well. The reason that Jess Phillips came in for criticism from Elon Musk was a refusal, initially at least, to hold a public inquiry around one of the scandals in the English town of Oldham related to so-called grooming gangs or rape gangs. Now, she insisted at the time that that was because there had been several other inquiries looking into issues around child sexual abuse, but Elon Musk has been one of those online suggesting that that was a misstep by the UK's safeguarding minister. It was interesting with Keir Starmer's defence of his own record and that of Jess Phillips on this issue that he didn't himself mention Elon Musk by name. And the UK government is now trying to strike a delicate balance here. It wants to hit back when criticised, particularly over issues like grooming gangs in Britain, but it doesn't want to get too much drawn into a war of words directly with Elon Musk himself. And if Elon Musk were simply the owner of a social media platform, then it might try to ignore some of the criticism that he is putting out online. But Elon Musk, of course, is set to be a key member of the incoming administration of the President-elect Donald Trump. So it's a diplomatic issue for the UK as well. But Keir Starmer trying to mount a defence on behalf of his ministerial colleagues and his government and his personal record when it comes to grooming gangs in the UK. This is a scandal that has been revealed over a period of years related to a series of English towns and cities where gangs of predominantly British Pakistani men had been abusing vulnerable young women and girls. Elon Musk has picked it up online as an issue in recent days and has been very vocal, as I say, in terms of his criticism of the UK government, has even called for Keir Starmer to be replaced as Prime Minister. But Keir Starmer hitting back today, although, as I say, not mentioning Elon Musk at this stage by name. Ollie Barrett for AnewZ in London.
French President Emmanuel Macron has accused Elon Musk of directly interfering in elections globally, including the upcoming elections in Germany, according to The Telegraph. In a speech to French ambassadors, Macron stated, quote, "10 years ago, who could have imagined it if we had been told that the owner of one of the largest social networks in the world would support a new international reactionary movement and intervene directly in elections, including in Germany." Now we turn to our Brussels correspondent William Denslow, who has more reactions on Musk's messages to Europeans.
A spokesperson for the European Commission says that while it's Elon Musk's right to express his own political views online, his social media site, X, must operate within legal boundaries. Musk was heavily involved in Donald Trump's successful US presidential election campaign, but has increasingly weighed in on European politics over recent weeks. Norway's Prime Minister said Monday he's worried that someone with access to social media and huge economic resources is involved so directly in the political affairs of other nations. Germans head to the polls on February 23rd, and Musk is set to soon host a live discussion on X with Chancellor candidate for the right-wing Alternative for Germany party, Alice Weidel. He's previously called the AfD the last spark of hope for the country, and a spokesperson for the German government says the upcoming audio live stream is part of a campaign to influence the federal election. The European Commission says it's Musk's right to host such online forums, but it's currently investigating the social media site, accusing it of failing to sufficiently counter misinformation and illegal content. The Commission calls it an unprecedented situation, adding that they want to make sure social media isn't misused to give certain political groups preferential treatment. William Denslow for AnewZ in Brussels.
Turkey and Jordan have agreed on a roadmap to help Syria in its endeavors to build a new political system and reconstruct the war-torn country during high-level talks between the two regional powers. Turkey's Foreign and Defense Ministers Hakan Fidan and Yaşar Güler, as well as Intelligence Chief Ibrahim Kalin, met with their counterparts, Jordanian Foreign Minister AnewZ Safadi, Chief of General Major General Yusuf Neyti, and Intelligence Chief Major General Ahmad Husni, together in the Turkish capital in a 3+3 format meeting. Following the meetings, Fidan and Safadi held a press conference to inform about the discussions and decisions taken for regional stability. Fidan said they had decided to work together to help Syrian brothers through a roadmap, underlining that Turkish and Jordanian authorities will coordinate joint efforts on the development of Syria, including on transportation, energy, food security and agriculture. Fidan added that the platform created by Turkey and Jordan is open to neighboring countries such as Iraq and Lebanon, so that all the regional stakeholders can jointly work for strengthening regional cooperation and stability. Syria's new trade minister, Maher Khalil al-Hassan, said United States sanctions are blocking fuel and wheat imports, warning of catastrophe unless they are lifted. Sanctions imposed during Assad's rule targeted his government and state institutions. The caretaker government formed by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham after ousting Bashar al-Assad in December has secured short-term supplies. Russia and Iran, once major suppliers of wheat and oil, halted support after Assad's ousting. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is poised to ease restrictions on humanitarian aid to Syria, allowing for more rapid delivery of basic supplies without fully lifting sanctions on the new government in Damascus. That's according to Wall Street Journal. The limited step involves U.S. Treasury Department waivers for aid groups and companies of offering essential services, such as water, electricity, and other humanitarian supplies. But it falls short of broader sanctions rollback. Washington remains cautious about withdrawing the comprehensive sanctions imposed during Syria's 13-year civil war. According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. wants assurances that the new leadership in Damascus will protect the rights of women and religions of ethnic minorities. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia's losses in the Kursk region have reached 38,000 soldiers, with almost 15,000 of these being classified as irreversible. The Ukrainian president stated that the Kursk operation, which began in August, had successfully created a buffer zone preventing Russian forces from advancing into critical areas of eastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia's National Guard released footage over the weekend claiming they repelled a Ukrainian offensive in the Kursk region. The Russian Defense Ministry also stated that their forces had thwarted Ukrainian attempts to breach their defenses. And now to Sudan, where due to the ongoing conflict, humanitarian crisis is worsening as hundreds of thousands of displaced people seek refuge in the region. Our Naba Muhaddin from Port Sudan has the latest updates on the issue.
The Sudanese army says it rebelled a fresh attack launched by the RSF in the east and southwest of Al-Fashir. Clashes between the two sides in Al-Fashir had died down over the last few weeks, but reports say the RSF continued bombarding civilian and military targets there. Attacks using heavy artillery and drones were reported, and again, according to reports, there have been a large number of civilian casualties. The joint force have also deployed large troops to the border areas with Libya in recent months, after intercepting two convoys accompanied by Libyan and apparently Colombian mercenaries. Al-Fashir is the last stronghold of the Sudanese army and the joint force since the onset of war, but the RSF controls 4 out of Darfur's states. Hundreds of thousands of displaced people have fled to the area, and the humanitarian crisis is deepening. Despite the mounting calls by the international community to cease the hostilities in Al-Fashir, fighting has not stopped. Naba Muhaddin for AnewZ in Port Sudan.
Tech innovators from around the world gathered in Las Vegas for CES 2025, showcasing the latest in AI, VR, and health tech. However, concerns over the new tariffs from President-elect Donald Trump are casting a shadow over the event.
At CES 2025 in Las Vegas, tech innovators are unveiling the newest gadgets aimed at transforming everyday life. The health tech is making a splash with products like a device designed to help the elderly maintain muscle strength by simulating yoga movements.
This is particularly good for elderly and patients that cannot work out on their own or work out independently. So just like this, up and down. The arms go up till 95-degree angle and legs go up 96-degree angle.
Meanwhile, virtual reality and AI tools continue to push the boundaries of immersive experiences. HoloConnect is demonstrating how AI and holograms can revolutionize communication, allowing remote employees and loved ones to interact as if they were in the same room.
Yeah, well, we use it for educational purposes. Imagine having a teacher being presented from one centralized location where I stand, but being presented in like 10 or 20 locations, doing a class and having feedback with students in those 20 locations. And we also now have new customers, which are like customers that use it as a home device to bring in their mother, to bring in their daughter or loved one as a live hologram into their room.
Among the highlights in the Ropet, an AI robotic pet that mimics a real dog, responding to touch and even recognizing its owner.
This is the Ropet, Vietnamese Ropet, means the AI robotic pet. It's like a real cat dog. You can touch it, it will feel your touching, and it can recognize you and recognize all kinds of items. If you can try to build some long-term relationship with human beings, in knows who is friend, who is strangers, and try to play with you.
However, as tech companies push forward with these innovations, they face a growing uncertainty. President-elect Donald Trump's proposed tariffs on imports from China, Mexico and Canada are a major concern, especially for automakers. Honda has warned that permanent tariffs could force them to reconsider their production strategies, potentially shifting more operations to the US in an effort to avoid higher import costs. Industry experts worry these tariffs could disrupt the global supply chain and increase the price of new technology.
Colombia's annual carnival has once again dazzled crowds this year. Recognized by UNESCO, this iconic festival celebrates centuries of tradition.
The Black and White Carnival, celebrated annually from January 2nd until the 7th in Pasto Narino, is one of Colombia's most iconic festivals. Originating from indigenous harvest celebrations, the carnival represents Spanish and African influences. Its name stems from the Day of Blacks, honoring enslaved people's freedom for a day, and the Day of Whites, celebrating unity with white powder. The Grand Parade featured stunning floats and costumes created by artists honoring nature and cultural heritage.
We aim to honor nature and our ancestors, hence the lions, man's bond with nature, the tiger, and we wish to offer this beautiful creation.
Declared a UNESCO Cultural Heritage of Humanity in 2009, it reflects the region's cultural traditions and attracts locals and tourists. The carnival remains a vibrant celebration of creativity, unity, and tradition.
Well, that's all we have for this hour. You can also get latest news and headlines around the clock on our website, that is AnewZ.tv. Thank you for joining us, and also we wish you a good day ahead.